The Economic Update with Tatiana Bailey, sponsored by Colorado First-Time Homebuyers.
President-elect Trump is proposing many changes in his new presidency, but how might they impact our economy?
Right now, Dr. Tatiana Bailey joins us to explain.
I've had many inquiries since the election regarding the tariffs and immigrant deportations proposed by President-elect Trump. I've homed in on two studies I'll share with you. The Peterson Institute, a nonpartisan think tank, examined the impacts of tariffs, deportations, and changes in Federal Reserve autonomy. Tariffs and deportations impose the greatest impacts on prices, employment levels, and economic growth as measured by GDP. The study looked at low and high deportation levels and assumed 60% tariff rates on all Chinese imports and 10% tariffs on all other trade partners, as promised by Trump. Remember, a tariff is a tax or fee that a government charges on imported goods, usually to protect domestic businesses. If businesses have to pay more for an input or finished product that comes from another country, they typically pass that amount onto consumers in the form of higher prices. Economists don't care much for tariffs because history shows us that they have inflationary impacts and therefore reduce consumption overall, which is 2/3 of GDP. According to the Peterson results, inflation would land somewhere between 6 and 9.3% by 2026, as opposed to trend inflation of roughly 2%. By 2034, inflation would settle at about 4%. GDP would decrease between 3 and 10% over a 4-year term. You can go to that study for further details. Another study by Wells Fargo also estimates that inflation would settle at around 4%, albeit more quickly. When I was in graduate school many years ago, we talked about the unfair trade practices of China and the theft of intellectual property. I am not a trade expert, but it would make sense to me that those experts can decipher when trade practices are nefarious, and they can determine how to impose tariffs on foreign goods that hurt U.S. businesses while not hurting U.S. consumers. Presidents can make changes in trade policy without congressional approval, raising the probability of tariffs. We'll know in about a year, but for now, as an economist, I worry about the limits of the resilient U.S. consumer who has already absorbed price levels 20 to 30% higher than early 2020.